Hello, everyone. My name is Ronaldo Epps, and I'm here today to interview with you some of the founding people in the green space in the Philadelphia and the Chicago area. We're bringing you some of the best of the best. So first, I want to talk to you about the first lady I'm bringing. Felicia Lisa Middleton was born and raised in Philadelphia. Felicia is a writer, an architectural design professional, an amateur photographer, an environmentalist, and an entrepreneur. Felicia is the owner of the Urban Aesthetics, which is a design and project management firm specializing in commercial kitchen spaces. Felicia has authored several books, including the second book, which we're going to talk about tonight. The book is titled A Guide to Residential Renovations and Maintenance. Additional works that are available on Amazon are A Complete Guide to Creating Tasty Spaces and Your Path to Green. Our second person that we're going to be talking to today is Victoria. Ms. Victoria B. Young Wilson is branded as the Queen of Green. Victoria is an environmental scientist and urban sustainability expert from Chicago, Illinois. Victoria is the owner of National Urban Environment, Inc. The mission of NEW is to renew, revitalize, reshape urban communities through advocacy. And it also provides information on energy efficiency for real estate renovations and development. So Lisa, how did you get interested in going green?
I became an environmentalist while in college. It was my second year of college. I took an environmental science class, fell in love with it, got a job at an environmental organization locally, and became an advocate working there. And throughout the rest of my time in college and my career, I've been an environmental nut.
Hey. And Victoria, the same question over to you.
Well, I actually have gotten into the sciences at an early age. I was the type of kid who liked playing in the dirt. And I went to the high school here in Chicago called Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences. And my grandmother was a chemistry teacher at Kenwood Academy here in Chicago as well. And so when she taught me about osmosis that I got into the sciences and really took advantage of all of the opportunities that were in front of me at an ag science high school, where I learned about agriculture, where I learned about horticulture as well as livestock. And then when I got my master's degree and my bachelor's degree, I actually obtained the first bachelor's in environmental science from Lincoln University of Missouri. And at that point, it just was like a love for the art and the science, and having the opportunity to put your hands on things that are ultimately going to change our future really puts an imprint on your life.
Thank you so much. And Victoria, I'm going to go back to you again. I know you guys are in different time zones. How do you work together to build out your ideas?
It is so awesome and so radical, just how me and Lisa have been able to work since 2010 together.
No, I think it's 2012, wasn't it?
2012, possibly. I graduated.
2012.
I graduated from grad school in 2011, and we worked
2012
together in 2012.
Because actually, Victoria helped me with my first book release party for Your Path to Green. She was actually an intern. Let me just tell the quick funny story, Victoria, about how it was really funny. I was, everybody knows I've always done my greenie thing on Facebook. I was approached by a colleague, well, he's a friend, Marcus Williams, and he asked me to mentor someone who was recently graduating from Drexel. And then I said, oh, sure, I love mentoring people, no problem. And then at the same time, I was approached by someone completely different who didn't even know Marcus, who asked me to mentor someone who just graduated from Drexel in environmental science. And I said, wait a minute. And they told me a little bit about her. And I said, they didn't tell me her name. And I said, wait a minute, this sounds like the same person. And it was just weird how we connected. And Victoria worked with me. She was doing some of everything, working with Urban Aesthetics at the time. And so I just wanted to get that little funny story out because I always thought that was funny how people from two different places came to me asking me to mentor Victoria.
It was all a setup for this exact date.
Yeah,
it was all a setup. It was all a setup. Yeah, Lisa has absolutely took me underneath her wing since the first day we worked our first project to putting together her book release, and we did a awesome open house and community service day Follow Your Path to Green, which was our collaborative effort to encourage minority communities about the importance of recycling and giving back in an environmental aspect. So our relationship has truly blossomed. I'm so glad to have Lisa in my life. She is such a treasure, because anytime I have a question when it comes down to construction, sustainability, anything in the space of retrofitting, she absolutely is a superstar in that retrospect, especially with interior design. So it's been such a wonderful relationship. We call, text message, Facebook Messenger has become our new platform of communicating, and thank God for Zoom, or who would know, we'll just be emailing.
Yeah, I mean, before this, we were setting up meetings. It was funny, we would set up meetings for about a year. We've been planning doing business together. The COVID shut us down. Actually, I was headed to meet with Victoria in Chicago for a business meeting, right around the time that COVID came out. And I had to cancel the flight, cancel the hotel. And so we just resumed everything online. And we've actually done more in the last 5 months online together than we did when we were setting up our meeting. So it's been a good working and also a personal relationship. Victoria's a friend.
Thank you. So Lisa, tell us a little bit about the book, A Homeowner's Guide to Renovations and Maintenance, which yours is actually truly thanked in.
And Dr. Epps, I do appreciate the fact that you reread the name. In the earlier introduction, you said a guide. So the Homeowner's Guide to Renovations and Maintenance. Part of the inspiration behind the book was yours truly, Ronaldo right there, Dr. Ronaldo Epps. Dr. Epps has been a friend of mine since we were since we were teenagers. And he purchased a home and always had questions about his home. And it's not just Dr. Epps, but it's also many other family members, friends, and also colleagues and people on Facebook who reach out to me to ask me questions. About 6 years ago, I used to do a Tuesday evening post on Facebook with tips about home maintenance. I was always giving out home maintenance tips, and I would give out 5 tips every week. And I collected the information, and I always wanted to put it together in another way. At that time, they didn't have Facebook Live, so I would just post them with pictures. And that combined with my long background in my career with residential design, although residential design is not a specialty of my company at present, I have in the past specialized in residential design, and I do residential design for particular individuals at this time, some contractors and a few other people I will do residential design for. So I have an extensive background in it. It's just not a specialty of my business. But I wanted to give back to some homeowners, help them out, but also give the greenie tips that I knew about. And also I knew that Victoria has been working in residential development in Chicago. And I thought that combination would just be a good working way to put something together that would help homeowners, especially homeowners like you, Ronaldo.
So Victoria, can you give us a little smidget about your residential renovations and maintenance?
Absolutely.
Your background.
Absolutely. So how did I get into real estate? That's the real question. My sister is actually a general contractor. I am a general contractor now as well here in the city of Chicago. So that's very exciting. But over the last 5 years, we had decided to go ahead and step into real estate. My sister being a managing broker for 360 Realty and Development. And in that time, we ended up picking up more and more investors who were looking to flip houses in the Chicagoland area, as well as purchase multi-units for rentals. And so we ended up jumping into property management. And along with that, we realized that a lot of our investors really were not presently here. And so they needed us to actually be on the project sites to watch the project be developed from start to finish. And so, you know, being my sister's wingman, I just picked up the skill set of becoming a construction project manager. And from that side, it just just kind of took off from there. So we've been, myself personally, I've been doing these rehabs and renovations over the last 3.5 years, anywhere from single family homes to 15 plus units. And so it's been a big transition. And since I've been doing that, I was really adamant about implementing green in these spaces, especially with renewables such as solar. I am a licensed, a certified solar installer, and I'm in the process of getting my NAPSET certification right now as an associate. And so I've been continually building on my skill sets in urban planning and sustainability in the residential and commercial spaces. And so with that, I decided to go ahead and move forward and pair the two and encouraging my investors and communities to go green.
Sure. I like that. So Lisa, why do you think the book will be helpful for homeowners?
Because I took a combination of personal experience as well as personal information that I've learned, as well as gleaned over the years through projects that I've worked on. I've worked on so many residential renovation projects throughout the city of Philadelphia and also beyond, and not just new construction, but mostly renovations over my career as an entrepreneur. And so I've had the opportunity to work directly along with contractors who I'm sometimes watching them work. So I learn a lot, I see a lot, and a lot of things that I see, I think if I can push that information out to people and let them know some things that they can avoid before they end up in some of the very bad situations that I've seen, that they may save a lot of money. They may also be safer in their living conditions. Your home is your most important investment. We buy cars and we get our cars maintenance every 3 months with oil changes, and we get the fluids checked, we get our tires checked. We should do the same thing with our home. I actually have a schedule that I put out where you can go through and look every season. There's something you can do for maintenance in your home. Mm-hmm. And this book is just there to help homeowners see that you're living in a space that can affect your well-being, your health, and your overall living conditions. And we just want to make sure that you can make the best of that while you're there.
Sure. Well, I like that. And I'm going to ask Victoria the last question. Victoria, how can homeowners make some green changes in their houses really quickly? You know, they don't have a lot of money right now, but they still want to go green. What are some ideas that they could do?
Well, that's a good question. One of the biggest things that we have to consider is where do we consume the most at? And in most cases, that's in electricity and that's in water consumption. And so that's where you really want to pay most of your focus at. Usually what we recommend is that you do a complete switch off from fluorescent bulbs to LED light bulbs. And I know most people are like, oh, well, I got LED light bulbs. Yeah, you do. But sometimes your fixtures aren't as compatible to get the most energy efficiency out of them, including your thermostats that need to be changed and updated inside your household. Not only that, you have to consider where you're consuming your most water, which is in your appliances primarily. You're looking at your dishwashers, you're looking at your washers and dryers, you're looking at your hot water tanks. One of the things I highly encourage people to do is to go tankless. Absolutely, why not? Go ahead and make that move. It's absolutely going to be a lifesaver. It's going to make sure you have even flow of hot water, and you're going to see the difference inside of your electricity bill. And one of the biggest things in which, just piggybacking off of what Lisa said, is that we are currently in a COVID society right now where we spend the majority of our times inside of our indoor spaces. 92% time right now is what they're saying that we're spending inside of indoor spaces. And indoor quality is one of the most essential things, especially when it comes down to your personal health. Mesothelioma is a big concern. Lead-based paint is another concern for toddlers inside of houses built before 1975. So you really want to make sure that you're aware of where your hazards are. 78?
78.
78, I said, especially with 75.
Victoria and I are both EPA certified renovators.
Yeah.
So that's a huge date, 78.
That's 78, yeah, it's 75.
Sorry.
No, but I was just saying that's one of the things that I think that this book is definitely going to bring to the homeowner, especially when they're preparing. I know we've done a lot of renovations for single family homes, and people spending more time inside of their homes and they're pulling stuff and not really knowing what type of material they're managing and working with. So you just want to be aware of your risk and your hazards inside your household and make the best call the professionals to do the work before you go dragging out some tile that's been in the basement since God knows when.
Oh yes, thank you for saying that. The do-it-yourselfers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's some things I discuss in the book as well. Do it yourself can be dangerous for both you and other people, especially pulling out those tiles in the basement. Thank you for mentioning.
Thank you. So I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that just a little bit. I know here in the state that I'm in, there was a federal grant that just came out because with homeowners being home as long as they are and their children being home, septic tanks are starting to overflow in a lot of areas, which I know can be in a very dangerous and an environmental type situation. So what are some ideas that you guys have for about clearing out maybe septic tanks? But I know that, what are some ideas about that?
Okay, I guess I can go first.
Yeah, you go first.
That's a good question. One of the things that they were talking about was the toilet paper issue can cause some major problems with plumbing. The first thing I'll tell you is this is gonna, for some individuals, you can do this and some you can't. Some can't. You can try the flush for two and not for one scenario. If you live alone, you can really practice that. You can
tell people don't flush their pee-pee in the
I'm trying to tell you not to.
Oh, you talk about if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. Okay.
Yellow and mellow.
You can try your best to use as little as possible of paper products in your toilet. Use less. You don't have to use, a lot of times you don't have to spare as many squares as you do when you're using a Seinfeld reference. There's many things you can do. There's little things you can do. I'm not a proponent of putting chemicals in your toilet. There are septic cleaners that are out there, but they can also cause problems. And sometimes if there's backups, they can back the gas back up into your house. I'm not a proponent of pouring bleach down the toilet because that can also cause problems. So there's some areas, that's things that people do, but also get it checked. One of the things in the book, and it seems like homeowners seem to shy away from this a lot, is to just have somebody check things. You can have someone come into your home and look to see if there's a problem and not necessarily fix or tear anything apart. Just have them check. You can snake thing. There's snakes that plumbers use. There's actually plumbers, this is very pricey, but they have a camera that goes down into your toilet. They can look and see where a clog is if there is a clog. But just to avoid that situation, you can always have your systems checked just to see. One of the suggestions in the book is, as a homeowner, you can always have a home inspector come into your home. They're a non-biased individual. They're licensed by the state to give you an official report to tell you the state of your home, and that's one of the things that they can check is the plumbing.
Thank you. So
yeah. I'm just going to piggyback off of that because it is very important, especially on the environmental side. Nobody wants still waste and microbes in regards to poop coming up out the ground. But just to piggyback off of what Lisa had said, of course, it's very important to add this to a part of your home maintenance schedule, is to absolutely have the septic maintenance crew coming out, have a look at your system, make sure everything's intact. It'll be very awful if you have a ruptured pipe due to clay pipes expanding, especially during the cold winter months. They absorb the majority of the water. Of course, we're not going to use bleach. What we're going to use an anaerobic bacteria that's able to actually break down the particles inside of the organic matter. So there are solutions that can be added into your drain system line, which will help with reducing the amount of waste inside the septic system, which allows for the water to reduce, reducing the solid waste down by turning it into sludge. So you absolutely want to make sure that you know the proper scalability and how frequently you need to do that. And as Lisa said, scoping the line is really important with having a plumber come out. One of the main issues that we see septic issues is because we have root interfering with what's going on inside the system. So you want to definitely make sure that your roots are not going into your system.
Okay.
So that's huge. Trees.
Yeah, trees are.
One of the home maintenance suggestions for the summertime is to check trees. Check if you see roots growing up in the trees, and yes, it is expensive, but it can save you some plumbing problems down the road. I mean,
Absolutely.
trees are so much damage to your home.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
It's fine. So also, guys, with everybody staying home a lot, I know that there's been an issue with trash. There's a large amount of trash that people are now putting out in the streets. And in some of the cities, the trash people are concerned about having to lift a lot of heavy stuff. What ideas do you have outside of recycling?
Reduce
Composting.
reducing waste. I used to be in charge of the waste reduction team, and it seems like people have got away from the fact that before you recycle, what's the first word that they tell you?
Reduce, reuse,
Exactly.
recycle.
And composting, yes, I agree with composting all the way. We both got excited about that because that's like right up our alley. I mean, but you have to reduce. When I say reduce, you can use plastic containers instead of aluminum foil. You can instead of using paper plates, and I'm guilty of it myself. Sometimes I use paper plates, but I went to the dollar store recently and bought some reusable little plastic plates that you can carry outside during a picnic, and you don't have to worry about taking your regular plates out, but you can always have these reusable. They're picnic type plates, but they're not paper plates. I mean, there's a lot. There cups, paper cups. When you buy a soda, instead of buying a 6-pack, buy a 2-liter. When you buy water, instead of buying, I just got finished drinking. I'd sometimes buy the big 1-gallon bottles of water instead of buying the little bottles. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of little things that we can do to reduce waste down before we even get to the point of recycling. And yes, we are creating a ton of trash. We really are.
Absolutely. I have to agree with Lisa. One of the things that we both agree on is that, as urban dwellers, we have to become, as Lisa has very nicely coined it, an urban greenie, and that's one of the biggest pushes. I actually sit on the Cook County Environmental Sustainability Committee, and right now we're in the process of implementing new policies here in Cook County, which is a majority Chicagoland area, where we're about to push a major bill in regards to composting of food waste. And one of the biggest challenges, and one of the things I advocate on behalf of our communities, for some reason my nose is itching really bad, but what I advocate on, especially because I have the larger district with the most municipalities in the Southland area, is how do we encourage people to recycle when they don't even have recycling facilities inside of their region? And not only that, but they don't know how, because they were never properly educated about that. And so as this next generation in this post-COVID society, we have to get our minds renewed when it comes down to how we see composting, recycling inside of our own single family and multi-unit dwelling spaces, and encourage people to understand the benefits of composting on site at home. How do you do that with your garbage can? How do you, what do you do with the compost waste? Especially myself, I've become a new gardener. And so, I understand the importance of having that organic material for my vegetables. But I highly encourage people to really take the time, especially now that we have nothing but free time, to do their due diligence and prepare their households to be able to shift accordingly, because we're about to be at the point where they're reducing the import-export of all the waste going around the globe. We don't ship as much waste out as we used to, and that is a big issue. We have international shipping of barges of waste that go up to Indonesia and other countries, and they are tired of our waste. They're tired of our waste stream. And not only that, America has such a large greenhouse gas footprint. We as consumers and cities need to take this very seriously, because ultimately it's going to boil down to our tax dollars that are going to make up for what we don't do inside of our own homes.
One of the things I always laugh about is when somebody tells me, I recycle, and I look at them and I crack up, because I'm like, I ran the recycling. I worked for a company that ran a recycling hotline in Philadelphia 27 years ago. I used to have to sit on that hotline and take calls, and I still hear people to this day getting excited because they recycle. I'm like, well, you put out trash, don't you? It's the same thing. So why are you telling me that you recycle? It's the law. It's required by law. It's a practice, just like you put trash in a trash can. you put recycling in a recycle bin. So don't get excited and tell me that you recycle, because that's what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm always amazed when people say that. They get really excited about it. And I'm thinking, I wasn't a teenager, but I was in my early 20s when the recycling had just started in Philadelphia, and it was new then. But now recycling is supposed to be a part of our everyday lives, just like putting trash in the trash can is a part. Composting is something new. Yes, that's not something new, but it's something new to urban dwellers. But recycling is so basic. I guess, I'm sorry, I'm going off on my recycle tangent. They used to call me Recycle Woman.
I consider myself to be Captain Planet, so I don't.
I like that. I really do like that.
So guys, I want to thank you for being our guest speakers tonight and talking about, urban renewal, revitalization. We've touched on a lot of different topics, all the way down to recycling and getting your home in order. So it was a great show. So tune in really soon for our next updated show from yours truly, Felicia Lisa Middleton. Guys, have a great day and save the planet on purpose. Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you so much, Dr. Epps. Have a good one.
I'm turning